The flashing red and blue lights painted the wet asphalt in violent color. Malik Carter's fingers tightened on the steering wheel as the siren wailed behind him. He'd been here before. The roadside ritual every black man in America learns by heart. Hands visible. No sudden moves. Speak calmly. Don't give them a reason. The officer's boots echoed against the quiet night as he approached Malik's window. License and registration, he said, his hand hovering near his gun. Malik kept his voice steady. Sure, officer, it's in my wallet. Slowly, the officer warned, tone already dripping with suspicion. The moment Malik reached the flashlight beam hit his face, lingering too long, searching for something guilty. Where you headed, son? Home, Malik replied. Funny, the officer said. This isn't the kind of neighborhood people like you drive through at night. Something inside Malik cracked, but he swallowed the anger. Instead, he reached into his jacket, careful, deliberate, and pulled out a black leather badge wallet. The gold letters gleamed even under the rain-slick light. FBI, he said softly. The officer's smirk faltered, eyes flicking from badge to Malik's face. Then click, another safety snapped off. What's this supposed to be, huh? Fake ID for a split second. Malik saw it. The fear, the disbelief, the prejudice warring behind the man's eyes. Step out of the vehicle. The officer barked. Malik exhaled slowly, the cold air burning his throat. Somewhere far off, thunder rolled. He opened the door, and the world went silent. The rain hadn't let up for miles. Malik Carter's windshield wipers kept time with his pulse, steady, uneasy, relentless. He was driving home from a long day at the bureau, his suit jacket hanging neatly on the passenger seat, the faint scent of coffee and gun oil lingering in the car. The flashing lights appeared out of nowhere, red and blue strobing against the darkness. His stomach clenched. He signaled, pulled over, and exhaled. Here we go again. The cruiser rolled up behind him. Headlights glared through the rearview mirror, blinding. He could see the silhouette of a cop stepping out, broad shoulders, heavy stride, one hand resting casually near his holster. Malik lowered the window and placed both hands on the wheel. Evening, officer. The cop didn't answer. The flashlight beam hit him square in the face. License and registration. In my wallet, Malik said quietly. Can I? Slowly. He moved with deliberate care, aware of every inch between his fingers and the officer's suspicion. His badge case glimmered faintly when he opened his wallet, but the officer didn't notice. You live around here? The cop asked, voice sharp. 15 minutes out. The officer smirked with, you don't look like someone who lives in Brookfield. Malik's jaw tightened. What's that supposed to mean? Means I've never seen you before. Step out of the vehicle, sir. There's no reason. Step out. Malik hesitated, then slowly opened the door. Rain slicked the asphalt beneath his shoes. Another cruiser pulled up, tires splashing. 2 more officers got out, hands resting on their weapons. He raised his hands slightly. Look, I'm an agent. FBI. He reached for his badge wallet again and held it up to the beam. The sergeant name tag reading Cole laughed. Cute, you people really carry these fake badges everywhere now. It's not fake, Malik said, his voice low but steady. You can call the Bureau's DC office. Cole took a step closer, close enough that Malik could smell the cigarette smoke on his breath. Hands behind your head. For what reason? Cole's grin widened. Impersonating a federal officer. The handcuffs clicked cold around Malik's wrists. He felt his breath catch, not from pain, but from the sheer absurdity of it. Somewhere behind him, a car slowed, a phone camera lifted. Officer Malik said, through clenched teeth, this is a mistake. Cole shoved him lightly toward the hood. Big words for a criminal. I'm not. Shut your mouth. The second officer, Young Lu, looked uncertain. Sarge, maybe we should. Cole cut him off with a glare. You questioning me now? Malik's heart pounded. The rain mixed with the sting of humiliation. His suit soaked through, his dignity unraveling inch by inch on the pavement. Call my supervisor, Malik said. You'll regret. Cole pressed down on his shoulder, forcing him to bend over the hood. You threatening me? A camera flash burst through the rain. Someone filming from across the street. Cole turned, barking. Get that phone out of here. But it was too late. Malik looked up through the drizzle, catching the glow of a phone screen and the reflection of his own face. The face of a man caught in a nightmare he'd sworn to fight. Unbelievable. He whispered to himself. Even with the badge. Cole scoffed. Yeah, you keep telling yourself that. Agent. Thunder rumbled above them, and for a moment, the street fell eerily still. Just the hum of the cruiser, the hiss of rain, and the weight of injustice settling heavy on Malik's shoulders. The cuffs bit deeper. He closed his eyes, Somewhere, in the distance, sirens wailed again, but this time, they weren't for him, not yet. The ride to the station was silent except for the rain drumming on the cruiser's roof. Malik sat in the back seat, wrists still cuffed, head tilted slightly toward the window. Streetlights flickered across his face, flashes of yellow cutting through the darkness. He could have broken the cuffs in seconds if he wanted to. FBI training had drilled that into his reflexes, but breaking them wasn't the victory he wanted. He needed the truth on record. The cruiser slowed, turning into the station lot. The gates buzzed open, swallowing them into concrete and fluorescent light. Sergeant Cole pushed open Malik's door. "Let's go, Agent." Malik stepped out carefully, water dripping from his sleeves. The younger officer, the one who'd looked uneasy earlier, avoided his eyes. Inside, the precinct smelled like stale coffee and disinfectant. The chatter stopped when Malik entered. Every officer in sight turned to look. A black man in a soaked dress shirt, cuffed and silent. Cole smirked. "Put him in holding. I'll check that badge of his." A desk officer looked up. "What's the charge?" "Impersonating a federal agent," Cole said flatly. Malik exhaled, forcing composure. "You're making a serious mistake." Cole leaned on the counter. "We'll see about that." He took Malik's ID and FBI badge, flipping them in his hand as if they were poker chips. "Pretty convincing work," he said. "Where'd you get it?" "Online." Malik's jaw tensed. "You're welcome to call my office. Director Kessler, DC Field Division." Cole grinned. "Oh, I will. After I finish my coffee." The room chuckled. Malik's hands clenched. Every second stretched. The ticking clock on the wall, the hum of fluorescent lights, the low murmur of mockery. Finally, he was led into a small cell. Metal bench, no window, just the sound of rain outside. He sat, breathed, waited. Minutes turned into nearly an hour. Then footsteps echoed down the hall. Quick, purposeful. The younger officer appeared at the bars. "Sarge wants you quiet," he muttered. "Says not to talk when the lieutenant comes through." Malik looked up. "What's your name?" "Ramirez." "You know this is wrong." "Ramirez." Ramirez's eyes flickered with guilt. "I just follow orders." Malik's tone sharpened. "That's what every man says before history writes him down as a coward." Ramirez swallowed, looked away, and left. Moments later, Cole returned, coffee cup in hand, arrogance intact. "So, Agent Carter," he said mockingly, "we called your office. Guess what?" Malik stayed silent. Cole leaned closer to the bars. "They didn't pick up." "Try again," Malik said. "Or maybe," Cole continued, "you're just another criminal who figured out how to laminate fake IDs." Before Malik could respond, the door to the precinct slammed open. Every head turned. A tall, sharp-featured man in a dark trench coat strode in, rain still glistening on his shoulders. His voice cut through the room like a blade. "Where is Special Agent Malik Carter?" Cole froze. "And you are?" "Assistant Director Nathan Kessler, FBI Internal Affairs." The man flashed his credentials with practiced precision. "Now, where is my agent?" The silence that followed was heavy. Every officer stared. Cole's coffee cup trembled slightly in his hand. Kessler's gaze swept the room. "Someone better open that cell, now." Ramirez moved first, fumbling with the keys. The cell door creaked open. Malik stood, the cuffs still biting his wrists. Kessler stepped forward, voice cold. "Who authorized this arrest?" Cole straightened, forcing confidence. "Sir," the suspect presented himself as FBI. "I was verifying you handcuffed a federal agent." Kessler interrupted. "Without cause, without confirmation, and apparently without a single functioning brain cell." Laughter died instantly. Cole's face turned crimson. Kessler turned to Malik. "You okay, Agent?" Malik nodded. "Physically, yes." "Good. We're filing a misconduct report before we leave." He turned back to the officers. "I want the footage from the dash cam, the body cams, and any internal reports, now. If I find out a second of this is missing, I'll have the entire precinct under federal review." Cole stammered. "Sir, it's not what it looks like." Kessler cut him off. "It's exactly what it looks like. A racist arrest of a federal officer who did nothing wrong. I'll let the Justice Department decide what that means for your career." The tension in the room broke like glass. Malik rubbed his wrists as the cuffs came off. The red marks burned into his skin, physical proof of humiliation that no apology could erase. Cole stood frozen, his voice finally cracking. "You can't," just Kessler turned sharply. "I can, and I will." Malik stepped closer, his voice calm but lethal. "You wanted proof, Sergeant. You just got it." He took his badge back from Cole's trembling hand, slid it into his jacket pocket, and looked him dead in the eye. You'll be hearing from my office." The words weren't shouted, they didn't need to be. They landed heavier than any punch. As Malik and Kessler walked out into the rain, the entire station fell silent. Even the thunder outside seemed to hold its breath. Kessler unlocked the car. "You want me to handle press?" Malik shook his head. "No, not yet, Malik." Kessler said quietly, "You know this won't stay quiet. The Bureau can only protect you so far, once this hits the news." "I'm aware," Malik replied, "but it's not about protection anymore." Kessler studied him. "You're thinking about going public." Malik's eyes reflected the flashing lights outside, the same colors that had started it all. "I'm thinking about justice." They drove off, leaving the precinct lights shrinking behind them in the mirror, small, distant, and trembling in the storm. Inside the station, Ramirez stared at the cell door Malik had just walked out of. Cole slammed his fist into the desk. "He's not gonna ruin me over this." Not him. But somewhere in his gut, Cole knew he already had. By morning, Malik Carter's name was everywhere. The video, 2 minutes and 12 seconds long, had been posted on 3 social media platforms before sunrise. It showed the entire encounter. The handcuffs, the rain, the badge flashing gold before the officer's shove. Within hours, it had over 3 million views. Malik sat in his living room, phone buzzing nonstop on the coffee table. The morning news played faintly in the background. Anchor. Outrage grows after a video surfaces showing what appears to be a black FBI agent detained during a routine traffic stop in Brookfield, Virginia. His wife, Dana, stood by the window, arms crossed, still in her robe. "They're already spinning it," she said quietly. "Listen." On screen, a police union spokesperson appeared, stone-faced. "Rehearsed, spokesperson. We urge the public not to jump to conclusions. The officers involved were following procedure." Given that the individual was armed and behaving erratically, Dana scoffed. "Behaving erratically?" He barely moved. Malik muted the TV. "It's what they do. Control the narrative." She turned to him, eyes sharp. "You can't let them. You have to say something." "I can't," he said. "Not yet. The Bureau's already called. They want me quiet until the investigation's done." "Quiet," Dana repeated. "After they humiliated you. After the world saw what they did." Malik rubbed his temples. "If I speak out, I risk my badge. You know how politics works." "Politics?" She shot back. "This isn't politics, Malik. It's your life." He didn't answer. The silence between them was heavy, the kind of silence that sits between love and exhaustion. A knock at the door broke it. Malik opened it to find his colleague, Agent Reeves, standing there, tie loose, eyes sympathetic. "You okay, man?" "Define okay," Malik said dryly. Reeves stepped inside. "Kessler's furious. Internal Affairs wants a report by noon. The director's office is trying to calm things down." Dana crossed her arms. "Calm things down. They arrested him on video." Reeves sighed. "Dana, trust me, I get it. But if Malik makes a public statement now, it'll turn into a political war between the FBI and local PD. The Bureau doesn't want that." Malik looked away. "So they want me to eat it quietly." Reeves hesitated. "They want to handle it internally." "That's what they said after Ferguson," Dana said bitterly. "After Minneapolis. After every name that ended up on a sign." Reeves looked pained. "This isn't the same, isn't it?" Malik asked softly. "A uniform, a gun, a man who sees color before he sees humanity." No one answered. The phone buzzed again. This time, a message from an unknown number. "Agent Carter, this is Maya Jennings, CBS News. We'd like your statement. Call me when ready." Dana read it over his shoulder. "You should call her." "I can't," he repeated, quieter this time. "You won't," she corrected, "because you're scared of losing your career. But what about every person who won't have a badge to protect them the next time it happens?" Her words landed hard. Malik exhaled, sinking into the couch. "You think I don't care? I became an agent because of this, to fix it from the inside." Dana's tone softened. "And how's that working so far?" The question lingered. Malik didn't answer. Reeves cleared his throat. "Look, man, the Bureau's handling PR. Just stay off social media. Don't respond to anything. Trust the system." Malik gave a hollow laugh. "Trust the system. That's the irony of it, isn't it?" Reeves looked away, guilt flickering across his face. "Hang in there, okay?" Then he left, closing the door behind him. The apartment was quiet again. Outside, rain tapped against the window like an echo of last night's chaos. Dana sat beside him. "They're going to bury this, if you let them." Malik stared at the muted TV. the video looping on repeat. Headlines screaming, FBI agent detained in racially charged stop. I'm not sure I can win this, he said finally. Then don't fight for you, she whispered. Fight because someone else might not survive it next time. Her words cracked something open inside him. He felt anger and purpose swirl together, a dangerous mix he'd spent years suppressing. That evening, his phone rang again. The caller ID read, Director Kessler. He answered, Sir Malik, the Attorney General's office called. The video's being reviewed, but I'm ordering you no interviews, no statements, no posts. Understood, Malik said flatly. Kessler hesitated. For what it's worth, you didn't deserve this. But the Bureau can't afford public tension with local law enforcement right now. You understand the optics. Optics, Malik repeated. Not justice, Kessler sighed. You know how it is. Yeah, Malik said quietly. I do. When the call ended, Dana was watching him. So? He wants silence. And what do you want? Malik stared out the window, down the street. He could see flashing lights from another patrol car, a reminder that the world outside hadn't changed. I want them to know what they did, he said finally, but on my terms. Dana's eyes softened. Then we find a way. Malik nodded slowly. Maybe I can't speak, but the truth can. That night, as they sat together in the dim light, Malik didn't notice his phone vibrating again. A notification that the video had crossed 10 million views. The headline beneath it read, FBI agent wrongfully arrested, officer under investigation. Outside, somewhere in the distance, sirens wailed, but this time, the sound wasn't fear. It was the beginning of something bigger. By the third day, Malik Carter's name had become a political headline, not a man, a headline. Officer's reputation on the line amid FBI controversy. Was the traffic stop justified? Community divided over viral arrests. The morning light bled through half-drawn blinds as Malik scrolled the news on his phone. Each article twisted the story slightly, a word here, a tone there, until the truth became a shadow of itself. Suspect appeared confrontational. He read aloud, failed to comply with lawful orders. Dana looked up from the kitchen counter, where she was pouring coffee. They're calling you a suspect now. Apparently, Malik said bitterly. The badge doesn't fit their version. She set the mug down hard enough that it splashed. They're trying to break you. They're trying to control me, Malik corrected. Same thing, different language. The television hummed to life again. Another morning show panel. A police representative sat across from a journalist. Journalist? But the man was an FBI agent, wasn't he? Representative. That's what he claims. But we still have to verify. Journalists, verify. His badge was confirmed by your department. Representative, we're investigating procedural misconduct. Nothing racial here. Dana muted the TV before the bile could rise higher. They're rewriting reality, right in front of everyone. Because they can, Malik said. Because people want to believe the uniform over the victim. His phone buzzed again. This time, a private message from an unknown sender. You don't know me, but I work in the department. Cole's captain is covering for him. They're destroying internal footage. Thought you should know. Malik read it twice. The message was unsigned, the profile picture blank. Dana noticed his expression. What is it? He handed her the phone. If that's true, they're already building their defense. She frowned. So what do you do? Malik stared at the message for a long time. I find proof they can't erase. By noon, Malik was in the Bureau's evidence lab, staring at security backups. Agent Reeves joined him, visibly tense. You sure you want to be digging around this yourself? Reeves asked. Internal Affairs is already on thin ice with the locals. IA can't stop me from checking my own case file, Malik said. If they're destroying body cam data, it'll show in the timestamp gaps. He typed quickly. Every few seconds, his jaw tightened. Reeves shifted uneasily. Malik, listen. I talked to some guys downtown. Cole's got friends. His union's calling this an attack on law enforcement. Malik laughed short and sharp. Of course they are. They're painting you as hostile. Reeves continued. Word is, they'll claim you reached for something. Malik stopped typing. Reached for what? Reeves looked at him. His gun. The silence was deafening. Malik's fingers froze over the keyboard. That's a lie. I know, Reeves said quickly. But you know how it goes. It's your word against theirs, until someone leaks the footage, which they're already erasing. Malik muttered. Reeves sighed. Then you better find it first. Hours passed. Malik combed through backup drives, each filled with endless loops of digital evidence, thousands of clips, compressed timestamps, corrupted files. Then he found it. DIS, HAIM. Nolam 427 backup.mp4. He clicked play. Rain. Headlights. His car. The moment Cole approached, the exchange clear, crisp, undeniable. Cole's sneer, the badge flash, the shove. And the words, fake ID. Who? People like you always got an excuse. Malik's chest tightened. The proof was right there. The phrase, the tone, the insult laced with authority. He exhaled shakily. Got you. That evening Malik sat with Dana again, laptop open, video paused mid-frame. This is it, he said, the unedited dashcam. She stared at the screen. If you release it, you'll be going against Bureau protocol. They'll silence it otherwise, then let someone else leak it. He looked at her, a flicker of understanding passing between them. You mean, Dana's lips pressed into a thin line, you have contacts in the press, so do I. Malik hesitated. You're serious enough to want the truth out there. You can't keep fighting in the dark, Malik. He studied her, the exhaustion in her eyes, the strength behind it. He'd married her because she never flinched from truth, even when it burned. After a long pause, he nodded. There's a journalist I trust, Maya Jennings. Then trust her again, Dana said, before they bury you completely. The next morning, the city woke to a headline that no PR department could spin. Exclusive, leaked dashcam shows racist. Remarks from Brookfield officer before arrest of FBI agent. The footage spread faster than the original clip. Cole's words were undeniable. Networks played them on loop. The department scrambled. By noon, the police chief held a press conference. Chief, we are aware of the leaked footage. An internal review is underway. The comments made do not reflect the values of our department. Then, why did you call him a suspect 3 days ago? A reporter shouted. Why did you say he resisted arrest? Another demanded. The chief faltered. We acted on incomplete information. Across town, Malik watched from his office. His phone rang non-stop. Calls from lawyers, activists, fellow agents. Kessler called twice. Left voicemails. Finally, Malik picked up. Sir, Kessler's tone was controlled, but sharp. Did you leak that video? I didn't, Malik said truthfully. But someone did. You realize this complicates everything, Kessler snapped. The Bureau's being accused of fueling anti-police sentiment. Malik's voice was calm. Or maybe it's fueling accountability. Watch your tone, agent. Malik's hand tightened on the phone. With all due respect, sir, my tone's the only thing that's kept me alive in this job. Kessler was silent for a beat. Then he sighed. They'll come after you, Malik. The department, the union, maybe even some in the Bureau. Be ready. I've been ready, Malik said, and hung up. That night, Cole's lawyer appeared on TV, demanding an immediate investigation into the illegal release of police footage. Cole himself remained unseen, suspended, but not charged. Dana turned off the TV. He's hiding. He's being protected, Malik said, for now. She looked at him. You think they'll retaliate? I don't think, Malik said quietly. I know. As he spoke, his phone buzzed again. A new message from the same anonymous number as before. Good job, but this isn't over. They're digging into your record now. Be careful who you trust. Malik stared at the message, the words glowing coldly in the dark. The truth had finally broken free, but freedom always came with a cost. He shut the laptop, exhaled, and leaned back. Dana reached over, took his hand. You did the right thing. I know, he said softly. I just hope it's enough. Outside, the city pulsed with light news vans, camera crews, flashing screens. The story had outgrown him now. But in some distant office, Sergeant Cole was watching too. Face lit by the same screen, eyes full of hatred and fear, and he whispered to himself, This isn't over, Carter, not by a long shot. The noise never stopped. It was in the air, the hum of outrage, the constant thrum of debate. Every screen in America now carried Malik Carter's face. Some called him a hero, others a traitor. At first, Malik tried to ignore it, to focus on his work, to stay the disciplined agent he'd trained to be. But by the 5th day after the leak, the lines between his professional life and the public narrative had begun to blur. Even inside the Bureau. The morning briefing was unusually tense. As Malik entered, conversations quieted, eyes turned. Kessler stood at the front, hands clasped behind his back. Let's begin, Kessler said curtly. Due to the ongoing media fallout, we're coordinating directly with the Justice Department. Agent Carter, you'll be reassigned from all field operations until further notice. Malik froze. Reassigned. Kessler avoided his gaze. Internal Affairs wants to minimize conflict of interest while the review continues. That's bureaucratic code for punishment, Malik said flatly. The room shifted uncomfortably. Kessler's jaw tightened. You're not being punished. You're being protected. Malik gave a bitter laugh. From whom? The people who arrested me, or the people who want me quiet? No one answered. Kessler's tone dropped. This conversation is over, Agent. You're on desk duty until the review concludes. Malik stood there for a moment, staring at the man he'd once trusted. Then he turned and walked out, his footsteps echoing through the sterile corridor. Outside, the air bit cold against his face. Protesters had gathered near the bureau's entrance, signs waving, chants rising. Justice for Malik Carter. End police immunity. Accountability for all. But not everyone there was on his side. Across the street, counter-protesters shouted back. Support our cops. Blue Lives Matter. Polícia Federal Norte-Americana. Traitor. Cameras followed Malik as he exited the building. A reporter shouted, Agent Carter, do you regret leaking the footage? He didn't answer. He couldn't. His silence became another headline before the hour was over. That night, Malik sat in his car outside his own house, engine idling, lights off. He could see Dana through the front window, pacing, on the phone, probably worried again. He wanted to go inside. He also wanted to drive until the city disappeared behind him. Instead, he gripped the steering wheel until his knuckles whitened. A knock on the window startled him. It was Reeves. Man, I thought you quit, Malik said, rolling the window down halfway. Reeves leaned in, looking uneasy. You got a minute? We need to talk. Malik gestured toward the passenger seat. Get in. Reeves slid in, exhaling sharply. You're not gonna like this. Try me. They're digging into your record, like that text said. Coal's union's pushing a smear campaign. They've already got someone from Internal Affairs leaking bits of your disciplinary reports. Malik frowned. I don't have any disciplinary reports. You do now, Reeves said grimly. Fabricated, of course. Stuff like aggressive behavior, abuse of authority, even one about unlawful detainment during a field op. Malik's heart pounded. They're trying to destroy my credibility. Exactly, Reeves said. They can't erase the footage, so they're erasing you. Malik stared through the windshield, eyes burning. And you're telling me this because I'm still your friend, Reeves said, and because you're running out of allies. Later that night, Malik and Dana sat at the kitchen table again, the air heavy with exhaustion and unspoken fear. She spoke first. I saw the news. They're saying you falsified reports. Malik's eyes flicked up. They're lying. I know, she said softly, but lies travel faster. He rubbed his temples. It's not just me anymore. They're attacking the bureau now. Kessler's losing patience. Then maybe it's time to fight back differently, Dana said. Malik frowned. How? Go public. Not with leaks, with truth. Sit down for an interview. Tell your side before they rewrite it for you. He hesitated. That would break every rule in the book. She leaned closer. They've already broken all of theirs. The next evening, Malik sat across from Maya Jennings in a dimly lit studio. The cameras rolled, lights soft but focused. Maya spoke gently. Agent Carter, the public knows the footage, but they don't know the man behind it. Why did you decide to come forward? Malik hesitated for a beat, then answered with quiet conviction. Because silence protects corruption, and corruption doesn't stop unless someone risks something. Maya nodded. What do you say to people calling you I'm not anti-police, Malik said firmly. I'm anti-injustice. I've worked with good officers, men and women who honor their oath. But when those same institutions protect the bad ones, that's not loyalty. That's rot. Maya leaned forward. Do you fear retaliation? A pause. Then, I fear silence more. The room went still. The interview aired the next day. Within hours, it hit 10 million views. Hashtags flooded social media. Hashtag Carter Speaks. Hashtag Truth Over Blue. Hashtag Justice Leaks. But so did the threats. Anonymous accounts. Emails. Even a handwritten note left on Malik's windshield. You've made enemies on both sides. Hope you're proud. Dana found it before he did, and tore it up before he could see the trembling in her hands. That night, Malik was awakened by the sound of tires crunching outside. He got up quietly, peered through the blinds. A dark SUV sat at the curb, headlights off. No plates visible. Dana whispered behind him. Malik. He turned. Stay back. He reached for his phone, started recording, and stepped out onto the porch. The night air was thick and cold. The SUV didn't move. Can I help you? Malik called out. No response. Just silence. Then the SUV slowly rolled forward, turned the corner, and disappeared. Malik exhaled shakily. They're watching now. The next morning Kessler called again. Carter, he said without preamble, you've put yourself in a dangerous position. I can't protect you from what comes next. I didn't ask for protection, Malik said. I know, Kessler said, his voice quieter now. But you're not fighting one man anymore. You're fighting a system that survives on silence. Malik looked out the window. The world still moving, indifferent, unaware. Then, I'll make noise, he said. Kessler sighed. Then make sure it's the right kind. That evening, Dana found Malik sitting on the back steps, staring at the horizon, the sky bruised purple by sunset. Do you ever wish you'd just stayed quiet? She asked softly. Malik didn't answer right away. Sometimes, he admitted, it would have been easier. Easier isn't the same as right, she said. He nodded slowly. No, it's not. Dana sat beside him, their shoulders touching. The world beyond their yard felt like a storm they couldn't see, but could feel moving closer. Whatever happens next, she whispered, we face it, together. Malik looked at her, the steadiness in her eyes, the unspoken fear behind it, and managed a faint smile. Together, he said. Somewhere in the distance, sirens wailed, low and fading. But for Malik Carter, the sound wasn't warning anymore. It was war drums. The next morning came quietly, too quietly. No phone buzz, no news alert, no calls from the bureau, just silence thick enough to feel wrong. Malik sat at the kitchen table, half awake, staring at a mug of coffee gone cold. Dana was scrolling her phone across from him, her expression tightening with each swipe. She looked up. They've started tearing you apart. Malik blinked. What do you mean? She turned the phone toward him. The headline screamed, FBI whistleblower under investigation for leaking classified data. Sources question credibility. His stomach dropped. They're framing it as espionage now. Dana's voice shook. It's everywhere, Malik. They're saying you violated federal law, that your footage was doctored. Malik leaned back, the air leaving his lungs. That's the play. Discredit the messenger. Bury the message. He rubbed his face, forcing calm. They're scared. That means we hit something real. Dana slammed her phone down. Scared people still shoot first. At the bureau, Malik's badge wouldn't scan. He tried again. Red light. Denied. Security guards exchanged glances. One of them, a younger officer, approached. Agent Carter, you've been placed on administrative suspension. I need to ask for your firearm and ID. Malik stared at him. Suspension? Who signed that order? Assistant Director Kessler, the guard said quietly, almost apologetic. Effective immediately. The hallway went still as agents watched. Whispers spread like static. Malik unclipped his badge, placed it on the desk, the weight of metal and betrayal heavy in his palm. Tell Kessler, he said, voice low, that silence was never part of my oath. And then he walked out. The press had already turned. One network ran exclusive sources claiming Malik had a history of confrontation. Another replayed his interview, cut mid, edited to sound angry. Outside his apartment, journalists swarmed like hornets. Cameras flashed, microphones lunged. Agent Carter, did you fabricate the footage? Are you facing criminal charges? Do you hate law enforcement? Malik pushed through the crowd. No comment, he muttered. From somewhere in the noise, a voice shouted, go back where you came from. He froze, anger flaring hot and raw. Then Dana's hand gripped his arm. Don't, she whispered. They want that reaction. He swallowed it down. Every second he stayed silent. The narrative rewrote itself, but every word he said could be twisted. He was trapped in a conversation he didn't control. That night, Reeves showed up at their door again, nervous eyes darting around. Malik, we need to talk inside. Dana opened the door wider. Come in. Reeves hesitated before speaking. I got a call from a friend in internal affairs. They're building a criminal case against you. Malik blinked. For what? Unauthorized disclosure of classified material, obstruction, and leaking federal evidence. Malik's jaw set. I didn't leak evidence. I exposed abuse. Reeves nodded. We know that, but they'll make it stick. The Bureau's distancing itself publicly and legally. You're the fall guy. Dana exhaled sharply. So they destroy his name to protect theirs. Reeves looked at her. Then Malik. It's bigger than that. Coal's union has political backing. Local precincts are using your case as a rallying cry against anti-police rhetoric. The narrative flipped overnight. Malik leaned forward. So what do I do? Lay low and let them kill the truth. Reeves's silence was the answer. Hours later, Malik sat in the dark living room, phone glowing in his hand. Messages flooded in, some supportive, many hateful. One stood out. You think the badge protects you? You're one of us, no more. He deleted it, but his pulse kept racing. Then the phone buzzed again, this time a call. Private number. He answered. This is Carter. A voice, calm and cold. You should have stayed quiet. Now you've got 48 hours before we make sure no one listens again. The line went dead. Malik stared at the screen, his heart pounding. Dana appeared in the doorway. What happened? He looked at her, eyes hard. They just made it personal. The next day, Malik met Reeves at a diner off the interstate. The place was nearly empty, save for the clink of silverware and a country song on low volume. Reeves slid a folder across the table. This is everything they've got on you. False reports, planted witness statements, even a forensic analysis claiming your footage was tampered with. Malik opened it, scanning the pages. His own face stared back from printed news clippings. Where did you get this? Reeves hesitated. Let's just say there are still people who believe in what's right. Malik met his eyes. Then help me. Help me prove this is a setup. Reeves looked torn. You're asking me to go against my department. Malik's voice hardened. I'm asking you to go against corruption. Reeves closed his eyes for a beat, then nodded. All right, I'll get what I can, but once you cross this line, there's no going back. I crossed it the night they put me in handcuffs, Malik said quietly. By evening, Malik's name trended again. #Carter under investigation. Even allies began distancing themselves. Sponsors pulled interviews. Legal pundits debated his ethics. Dana scrolled through her phone, her face pale. They're destroying you, Malik. He shook his head. They're trying. There's a difference. Then came the knock. 3 heavy raps against the door. Malik stood slowly. Stay back. He opened the door and froze. 2 federal agents stood outside. One held a folded paper. Malik Carter, you're under federal investigation. We're executing a search warrant for your premises. Dana gasped. You can't just. The lead agent cut her off. Ma'am, please step aside. Malik's chest burned. You're raiding my home. For exposing police brutality. The agent's expression was cold. For violating federal secrecy protocols. Malik laughed bitterly. Protocols over justice. Figures they entered. Papers, drawers, devices, all seized. Cameras flashed as media vans appeared outside, already tipped off. As they cuffed him again, Malik caught sight of a reflection in the hallway mirror. His own face, calm but broken in the eyes. Dana whispered, trembling. We'll fight this. I promise. Malik forced a small smile. They can take everything, but not the truth. Hours later, Malik sat in an interrogation room. Same metal table, same flickering light, different badge on the wall. Kessler walked in, looking tired, older. Malik's jaw tightened. You signed the warrant. Kessler didn't deny it. They gave me no choice. There's always a choice, Malik said. Kessler sat down across from him. You think you're the only one fighting the system. I've been in this machine for 30 years. You don't beat it by shouting at it. Malik leaned forward. Then how? By feeding it. Kessler's silence was an answer. After a long pause, Kessler said quietly, they want to make an example of you, but you might still have leverage. Malik frowned. What leverage? Your evidence. There's more, isn't there? Malik's eyes narrowed. If there were, I wouldn't trust you with it. Kessler sighed. Be careful, Carter. The system doesn't forgive exposure, and it never forgets betrayal. He stood to leave, stopping at the door. You can still walk away. Malik looked up. I'm already gone. That night, the footage of Malik being let out in cuffs hit every major network. Commentators dissected every frame. His career over. His name weaponized. But somewhere online, among the noise, a new video surfaced. Short, unmarked. Times it showed body cam footage from another officer, confirming Malik's original recording had been authentic all along. The clip spread quietly, then, virally, too fast to be stopped. For the first time in weeks, the truth began to fight back. The video spread faster than wildfire. No watermark, no commentary, just raw, uncut truth. An unfiltered body cam recording of the night Malik Carter was handcuffed and humiliated. And this time, the entire country could see the full 30 seconds the news stations had cut out. Cole's sneer, Malik calmly identifying himself as FBI. The officer's words, sharp, cold, undeniable. don't care who you are. You people always think you're above the law. The sound of a baton hitting asphalt echoed through screens worldwide. By dawn, hashtags flooded social media again. Hashtag justice for Malik. Hashtag system exposed. Hashtag racism in blue. Marches began in D.C., Atlanta, Chicago, Los Angeles. This wasn't a protest anymore. It was a reckoning. Malik sat in a holding cell, staring at the wall when Reeves burst in, breathless. Carter, you're trending again for real this time. Malik looked up, expression blank. Trending doesn't erase cuffs. Reeves grinned despite the tension. You don't get it. The full footage dropped. It proves everything. You're cleared. Malik's breath caught. How? Who leaked it? Reeves shrugged. No one knows. Could have been someone inside, maybe a conscience grew somewhere. He lowered his voice. You're walking out of here today. Malik stared at him, part disbelief, part exhaustion. Just like that. Reeves' smile faded. Not exactly. The bureau's panicking. Kessler's called a press conference. They're gonna frame it like they released the footage. Damage control. Malik stood slowly. They're still spinning this. Reeves nodded. Yeah, but this time, the public's ahead of them. Outside the courthouse, the sound hit like a wave. Chants, cameras, thousands of voices calling his name. Malik Carter. Malik Carter. Dana stood near the front, eyes wet but proud. As soon as Malik stepped out, the crowd surged forward, reporters shouting, flashes blinding. Agent Carter, do you feel vindicated? What do you want to say to Officer Cole? Will you sue the Bureau? Malik raised a hand, just once, and the noise softened. His voice carried, strong but steady. The truth doesn't belong to me. It belongs to everyone who's been silenced. Today isn't justice, it's proof that we still have to fight for it. The crowd roared. Later, in a small conference room, Kessler stood waiting pale, sweat beading his forehead. Sit, he said quietly. Malik didn't. I'm cleared. You leaked the footage, didn't you? Kessler hesitated. We had to contain the situation. By lying. Malik snapped. By pretending the Bureau was transparent when you were part of the cover-up. Kessler's face hardened. You think I wanted this? I've been ordered by the director himself. If this blows back on the Bureau, people lose their pensions, their careers. Malik cut him off. People lost their lives. Kessler, you think that compares? Silence filled the room. Finally, Kessler's shoulders slumped. They've suspended Cole. Internal Affairs is opening a full investigation. Malik's tone turned razor-sharp. A suspension isn't justice. Kessler sighed. Maybe not, but it's a start. Malik turned toward the door. No, Director. The start was the moment I stopped being silent. The next few days blurred together. Interviews, speeches, court motions. For the first time, Malik wasn't alone. Activists quoted him. Students wore shirts with his badge number. Even other law enforcement officers reached out privately to thank him. But with every message of support came a shadow. Threats, slurs, warnings. The price of truth was visibility. And visibility made you a target. Dana could see it wearing him down. One evening, as protests filled the streets outside their apartment, she found him sitting on the couch, head in his hands. You haven't slept in days, she said softly. Can't, Malik murmured. Feels like if I blink, the narrative changes again. She sat beside him. You don't have to carry all of it alone. He looked up at her. If I don't, who will? Dana reached out, taking his hand. You already did your part. You exposed it. Now it's up to the people. Malik looked toward the window, where chants echoed through the city. Then I hope they don't stop, he whispered, across town. The protests grew larger, a sea of signs and voices marching past precincts and courthouses. Reeves stood among them, holding a banner. Accountability for all. He spotted Cole's face on the news later that night, escorted out of his house by Internal Affairs. But Cole wasn't silent. In a televised statement, his voice dripped venom. This is a witch hunt. That agent made me look like a racist thug. My life's been ruined. Malik watched the screen from his living room, his fists clenched. Ruined. He still has a house. I had a cell. Dana placed a hand on his shoulder. Let it unfold. The world's watching now. He nodded, barely. For the first time, maybe that matters. The following morning, Malik was invited to speak at the D.C. Civic Forum, a televised national panel on justice and reform. The stage lights were harsh. Senators, activists, journalists, all watching. Maya Jennings sat in the front row, nodding encouragement. The moderator leaned forward. Agent Carter, after everything you've endured, what's next? Malik took a deep breath. Justice isn't just a headline, it's a process, and that process is broken. I don't just want accountability. I want reform, in training, in oversight, in culture. The audience applauded. He continued, voice rising, because racism isn't just about bad people, it's about a bad system that protects them. And if I have to spend the rest of my life fighting that, I will. The room stood in ovation. Cameras captured the moment, the same man who'd been branded a criminal now standing as a symbol of truth. But even victory carried scars. When Malik and Dana left the event, the air was thick with fog and tension. From across the street, a voice called out, "Hey, Carter." He turned. A man in a hoodie raised his phone like he was filming, then spat at the ground. "You think you're a hero? You're just another traitor." Before Malik could respond, the man disappeared into the crowd. Dana's hand tightened around his arm. "He's not worth it," Malik exhaled, staring after the figure. "Maybe not, but that's what hate looks like when it's losing." That night, Malik stood on the roof of his building, city lights stretching below. Chants still drifted faintly through the streets. He could see the reflection of protest fires miles away, angry, defiant, alive. Reeves called from below, "You coming down anytime soon?" Malik smiled faintly. "Soon. Just watching the world turn for once." Reeves chuckled. "Feels like it's finally turning your way." Malik looked out again. "No, it's turning the right way. That's enough." For the first time in months, he felt something like peace. Not the absence of conflict, but the presence of purpose. Rain fell in sheets, drumming against the courthouse steps like a warning. The air smelled of wet asphalt and tension, electric, bitter. The crowd outside was larger than anyone had expected. Reporters, activists, uniformed officers, and silent onlookers gathered beneath umbrellas and camera lights, waiting for the hearing that would decide the fate of Officer Daniel Croft. Marcus stood near the courthouse entrance, coat collar turned up, his FBI badge glinting faintly under the gray sky. Months of investigation had led to this moment. Every document, every testimony, every sleepless night was compressed into the next few hours. He could hear the low hum of voices, the chants rising from the crowd. Justice for Marcus. Justice for all. He'd told himself this wasn't about revenge, but as he stared at the courthouse doors, he realized justice had always been personal. Inside, the courtroom was a theater of tension. Reporters scribbled notes. Cameras clicked. Croft sat at the defense table in a navy suit, looking smaller than Marcus remembered. His face was pale, his jaw tight, the cocky arrogance stripped away, replaced by something hollow. Across from him, Marcus sat quietly beside the federal prosecutor. The silence was heavy until the judge entered. "Court is now in session." Every word echoed like thunder. The prosecution began with the video. The dashboard cam, the one showing Croft pulling Marcus over, shouting orders, pressing a gun to his temple. The room went silent as the footage played. Marcus couldn't bring himself to look at the screen. He stared at his hands instead, his knuckles whitening. The sound of Croft's voice from that night sliced through the air. "Hands, where I can see them. Don't move, boy." Gasps rippled through the room. The judge's gavel struck once for silence. The prosecutor's voice was calm, sharp. "Your Honor, this video is incontrovertible evidence of racial profiling, excessive force, and obstruction of justice." Croft's attorney tried to object, claimed stress, miscommunication, fear for his life, but the jury's faces told the truth. No one was buying it. Then came Marcus's turn. He rose slowly, walked to the stand. For a moment, his throat locked. He'd faced killers, traffickers, corruption, but this, speaking about his own humiliation, was harder than all of it. He took a deep breath. "That night, I thought I might die, not because I broke the law, but because I was born the wrong color." The room froze. He went on, voice trembling but steady. "I didn't want revenge. I wanted to be treated like a man, not a threat, not a suspect, not a statistic." He met Croft's eyes across the courtroom. "You pointed your gun at me, called me a criminal, and when you saw the badge, you didn't apologize. You just looked afraid. Afraid because the power flipped for 1 second." Croft looked down. His lawyer shifted uncomfortably. When Marcus stepped down, there was a murmur, quiet but powerful. The air had changed. The prosecution rested soon after. Hours later, the jury filed back in. The foreman's voice shook as he read the verdict. Guilty on all counts. Croft's wife cried out. The officer sat motionless, staring straight ahead, lips trembling. Outside, when the news broke, the crowd erupted, not in joy, but in release. Years of anger, fear, Silence, all breaking open. Reporters swarmed, microphones thrust forward. Agent Reed, do you feel justice was served? Marcus looked past them, at the courthouse where he'd nearly lost his life's purpose. Justice, he said slowly, isn't one verdict. It's what comes after, what we do next. That night, Marcus stood alone in his apartment, the city lights glowing beyond the rain-streaked window. His phone buzzed with messages, colleagues congratulating him, news outlets requesting interviews. But all he could think about was the quiet. His career was intact, but something in him had changed. He turned on the TV. Another headline flashed. Racist officer found guilty. Systemic reform underway. The words didn't bring peace. They brought responsibility. A knock came at the door. It was Jasmine, holding 2 cups of coffee. Couldn't sleep either, she asked softly. He shook his head. It's not over, Jas, you know that. I know, she said, stepping inside. But tonight, you won. He smiled faintly. No, we survived. They sat together in silence, watching the rain. The next morning, the FBI issued a statement acknowledging systemic failures and pledging reform. For the first time, Marcus saw a glimmer of accountability. He walked into the bureau, where colleagues stood in quiet respect. No one avoided his eyes this time. Director Vaughn shook his hand. Agent Reed, you changed something here. Marcus nodded, though he wasn't sure he believed it. Change came slow, like erosion, steady, invisible until one day the cliff finally gave way. As he left the building, he passed a group of new recruits. One of them, a young black cadet, stopped him. Sir, the cadet said nervously, your story, it made me want to join, to make it better. Marcus looked at him for a long moment. Then make it better, he said. Don't just wear the badge, redefine it. Later, as he drove past the same stretch of road where it all began, he slowed the car. The street was quiet, empty. The light turned red, then green. He whispered to himself, never again. The city skyline loomed ahead, not a promise, but a challenge. And as Marcus merged onto the highway, the rain finally stopped. The clouds began to part, revealing a thin blade of sunlight cutting through the gray. Justice wasn't clean. It never was. But it was a start. A year had passed. Washington, D.C. shimmered beneath an autumn sun, crisp and golden. The headlines had faded. The outrage dulled into the next crisis, the next scandal. But for Marcus Reed, the echoes of that night still lived beneath his skin, quiet, steady, unforgettable. The Bureau had changed, at least on paper. New diversity programs, implicit bias training, policy revisions. He'd been promoted to a leadership role in the Civil Rights Division, overseeing investigations into police misconduct. It was progress, maybe, but Marcus knew paper change was not the same as real change still. When he stepped into the FBI Academy auditorium that morning and saw hundreds of recruits seated before him, uniforms crisp, eyes alert, something inside him stirred. He was the keynote speaker for the new graduating class. The same institution that once doubted him now asked him to represent it. Irony or evolution, he couldn't tell. He took the stage in silence. The room went still. Cameras blinked red from the back, capturing the moment. Good morning, Marcus began, voice steady, deep. Before I was an agent, before the badge, I was just a man pulled over on a quiet road and made to feel less than human. A murmur rippled through the room. He let it settle. That night changed my life, not because it broke me, but because it showed me what this badge is supposed to mean and what it can destroy when wielded with hate. He paced slowly, scanning their faces, black, white, brown, men and women from every corner of the country. Each of you will have power to protect or to harm, to see or to ignore. The difference between justice and tragedy, he said softly, will be the space between those two choices. He paused. The weight of the room hung on him. This badge doesn't make you better than anyone else. It makes you accountable to everyone else. For a heartbeat, there was silence. Then, a quiet wave of applause. After the ceremony, recruits surrounded him. One woman, Latina, early 20s, held out her diploma. Sir, thank you, she said, for making it possible for people like me to stand here. Marcus smiled. Then promise me one thing, make the system better than you found it. She nodded fiercely. As they walked away, Jasmine appeared from the side of the hall, camera slung around her neck. She'd turned her reporting from outrage to advocacy, producing a documentary series titled Behind the Badge, Stories of Accountability. It had gone viral. You were good up there, she said, smirking. Almost sounded hopeful. He chuckled. Don't tell anyone. It'll ruin my reputation. Her smile softened. You've done more than you think, Marcus. He looked out the window, the American flag fluttering, the sunlight glinting off the Capitol dome. Maybe. But the fight doesn't end here. That evening, Marcus drove to the Memorial Park on the edge of town. A new plaque had been installed, engraved with the names of victims of police violence. At the bottom, it read, "Justice is not vengeance. It is remembrance with purpose." He stood there for a long time, reading the names. The air smelled of pine and damp earth. A small group gathered nearby, families, survivors, activists. They weren't protesting tonight. They were remembering. An elderly woman approached him, eyes kind but tired. "You're the agent, aren't you? The one who stood up?" He nodded. She took his hand. "My son didn't get his day in court, but seeing someone fight back and live, it gave us hope." Marcus swallowed hard. "Your son deserved better. They all did." The woman squeezed his hand. "Then keep making them remember." Later, as the crowd dispersed, Marcus sat on a bench, watching the sunset bleed across the sky. The golden light stretched over the memorial, glinting off every engraved name. He pulled out his phone. A message from Director Vaughn. "New task force approved. You're leading it. National Civil Rights Response Unit. We start Monday." He exhaled slowly, the corner of his mouth lifting. It wasn't closure. It was continuation. When darkness fell, he walked back toward his car. The city hummed in the distance, life going on, indifferent, yet enduring. As he reached the intersection where it all began, the same road where Croft had pulled him over, Marcus stopped. The streetlight flickered overhead, casting a soft halo. He could still see flashes of that night, the glare of headlights, the cold metal of the gun, the pounding fear in his chest. But this time, there was no rage, only resolve. He whispered into the quiet, "I forgive you." The words weren't for Croft, they were for himself. Forgiveness wasn't weakness, it was freedom. A week later, a news report aired across national networks. Historic reforms pass in law enforcement oversight. Agent Marcus Reed to lead federal initiative on civil rights accountability. A symbol of resilience and reform. His story changed the conversation on policing. Marcus watched it briefly, then turned off the TV. Titles didn't matter. What mattered was the next case, the next victim, the next truth. As the night deepened, he stepped out onto his balcony. The city below glowed, restless, flawed, alive. He thought of every injustice still waiting to be uncovered, every silent victim without a badge to flash, every hand reaching for fairness in a system built to deny it. And he knew this was his purpose. He picked up his badge, ran a thumb over the worn edges, and set it down beside a framed photo. His parents, smiling from decades ago. "Still fighting, Dad," he murmured. "Still here." Then he turned off the light. Outside, the city pulsed, not healed, but still breathing. And somewhere, in the hum of distant sirens and the flicker of streetlights, justice stirred again, quiet, imperfect, alive.